3, 2, 1, go!
We are Paul Leonard
And Bryce Graskowski.
and this is 20 Minutes of Fitness.
Welcome back to Diablo's Playground.
Here we are. We're back.
We're back in the playground, although we didn't actually do any CrossFit again today.
We worked out, kind of.
We did biking again. We're back to our bike ride. So that's 3 weeks in a row that we're podcast.
Yep.
And we'd bike, and then we did swim. And then now we're doing bike again. So one of these days we have to do a run just to kind of get the full triathlon thing.
Didn't we run the last time, the other week?
Yeah, there was running.
There was
in one
running.
of our workouts
400.
recently. Fair enough.
My fucking foot hurts still.
Aww.
I lost a couple toenails.
Mine actually holding on. See, I got that one that's like on the verge of
No,
going,
that's gone.
but it's not gone. It hasn't come off
See,
yet.
I drained the blood out of mine.
Yeah.
Big mistake. Then they just went bloop. All the skin underneath them just dropped, and I was like, oh, I gotta cut those off. There's still nibs on there, which sucks too.
Yeah, this one, I cut it short enough before that it wasn't catching on anything, but
Yeah.
now it needs to be trimmed again. It'll be gone soon enough.
Yeah.
But that's what running events cause is
Pain in the
lack
ass
of
running.
toenails.
Yeah.
But biking, not so much. Especially like today, we did it at a nice casual pace.
Yep.
And we biked about 15 miles.
Yeah.
And it took us a little over an hour this time.
Okay.
So just slightly longer than what I did last time, but at a very different
Yeah,
cadence
different,
and
totally different. Yeah.
chatted a little bit more during it and whatnot, which was fun.
It was a good recovery.
When Ben was with us, we felt like we had to go harder. I wonder why. Compensating for something.
Yeah. So you're still training for the Ironman.
I'm still doing the Kona Ironman on October 8th. I'm actually, this morning, I was emailing them trying to figure out how I can not have to go there twice.
Okay.
Because everybody goes to the Kona Ironman because apparently people think it's a big deal for a whole week.
Oh.
So the race is on Saturday, but they're saying I have to be there on Tuesday to pick up my packet.
Holy shit.
But like, if I was there for the whole week, that'd be cool. But since I'm not there for the whole week, I'm going to have to fly to Kona, pick up my packet, come back here, and then fly there again the day before the race.
At least you have an airplane.
I do have an airplane.
So
So in the end, it's not so bad.
Go fuck yourself.
That is true. I will fly myself
Everybody watching
there.
today is saying, go fuck yourself, Paul.
Yeah.
Quit your bitching.
That is fair. But I emailed them and asked if I could pick up my packet on Friday.
First world problems.
They might. Yeah, first world problems.
First world rich guy problems.
So, been training still.
Good.
Before that's what you want to talk about today.
Yeah,
is training volume.
Training frequency, training volume. So where were you? You no longer with your trainer. How many hours a day were you training, or hours a week, I guess is what you're looking at?
So let's back up a little bit before that. So, the beginning of the year, I was just kind of casually working out.
Yeah.
And I would say I would work out an hour a day, 5 days a week. And I would say I consistently did that all the way up until finding out I was going to do the Ironman.
Yep.
And then when I decided I was going to do the Ironman, I stepped it up by getting a coach. And the coach told me I needed to train 7 days a week. And I was averaging, I would say, about 2 hours a day.
Okay.
So there were some days where I would do like an hour and a half bike ride, say. But then on Saturdays, I would do 5 hour workouts pretty much every week. So
Jeez.
I would say I averaged 2 hours a day.
So 15 hours a week, roughly?
So roughly 14 hours a week.
14 hours a week, yeah.
Two.
Yeah.
So it's about 14 hours a week. And all of that was at like pretty low intensity.
Yeah.
So that's how I could manage that load without being too busted up.
Okay.
Is I was keeping my heart rate between like 135 to 145 through most of that training.
Okay.
Which is like, you can still carry on a conversation pretty easily at that heart rate.
Yep. That was like what we're doing today.
Yeah. And that's like going for runs. That was like 9.5 minute mile runs. Like nothing crazy, but not that slow, but not pushing very hard. Oh, don't mind the garbage truck.
Yeah.
He's going to come by a couple times.
And that's probably what hurt you the most in your training, was that you didn't have that intensity.
I didn't have an intensity. So because of the intensity being a little bit lower, the garbage truck's almost gone. Woo! But because of that intensity being lower, I feel like I lost a lot of fitness. So
Okay, lack of intensity.
what I was doing when I did CrossFit workouts during that period of time is every once in a while I'd still do a CrossFit workout with you or other times. I definitely felt like I lost the majority of my like CrossFit fitness.
Sure.
which with how much I was training, I really didn't think I should lose as much of it.
Yeah, muscular stamina, we're talking mostly.
But in the end, it was just all aerobic
Yep.
and no anaerobic.
Right.
And so even though I was training a lot, and then I also was finding that with training that much, but at that low of intensity, I was eating pretty clean and just staying pretty stagnant. I wasn't dropping any weight.
Right.
So I was eating pretty clean, drinking a little bit more than I maybe should have.
It was almost like you probably, the low intensity wasn't burning enough calories versus the high intensity, you burn calories longer afterwards.
Yeah, it keeps your body actually going.
So you kind of stayed the same weight or didn't lose as much weight as you should have, maybe if you were a little more intense.
And then the coach was also having me load up all my workouts with carbs. So on a 5-hour bike ride, I would be taking in almost as many calories as I was burning.
Yeah, that's
because during the race, you're supposed to do that.
Right.
So it's good for training, and I understand why she would have me do that. But as far as getting into
the rest of the
fitness, is like not there.
Right, not ideal. So what is? So we'll talk about that a little bit. What is ideal for people that are trying to either get into fitness or already are, and maybe they're like, oh, I want to go up to the next level. So we'll start with like beginners who aren't doing anything. It's the people sitting at home watching.
So if you're sitting on the couch watching TV and deciding you want to start getting fit, I think 2 to 3 days a week is probably realistic with intensity.
Yeah.
If you're going to get into working out without intensity, coming from the couch,
meaning you're out of breath for a good amount.
Yeah, you should be like struggling to keep going. You want to quit throughout the whole time.
Yeah.
If you don't want to quit during the workout, you're not going hard enough.
You don't want it to be easy. None of it should be easy. In most training, until you get into these specialized stuff where like you're doing.
There's exceptions to that though. Like let's say you're 300 plus pounds sitting on the couch. You might want to start with walking for an hour a day at that low intensity for the first little bit till your body starts moving.
That ain't going to be easy. That's
going to be tough, but at least you could get something in without hurting your body. Because if you go from 300 pounds sitting on the couch every day to CrossFit.
Oh, definitely not.
If you start pushing hard and doing burpees and stuff like.
No.
I'm not saying that you can't start CrossFit at 300 pounds and be super overweight. We had some members that were like that and did really well with it. But man, you got to scale it a lot, and you got to have a lot of mental toughness.
A lot of people are just going to, if they're jumping into CrossFit, obviously you have to scale it a lot, like you just said. That's key. If you're going to jump into a high intensity and or strength or something that's just highly dependent on any of the fitness aspects, right? You got to scale it, or you just have to do lesser modalities, right? Like you said, walking 3 hours a week. That might be a good start at like a good clip. Like said, like that.
Yeah, heart rate out of breath.
Just not quite comfortable. Not conversation pace.
Or biking or other things like that could work.
Right.
Like,
any of it.
The Peloton could be an option to like get your way into it.
Yeah, depending on what joints and what issues you're having. Like obviously if you're severely overweight, you probably have some joint issues due to your weight. So you got to pick the right modality. But yeah, probably 3 hours a week is probably a fair start. And you can break that up at least into 3 days. You don't want to be doing a couple hours a day and then you got to.
No, because then you won't be able to function the rest of the week.
But you could do, half an hour segments, do more often, but generally 3 hours a week. And then add in an hour of stretching and stuff. Because that's
definitely important.
That's going to completely change, especially in the beginning. You're going to be sore depending on what you're doing. Your different body parts are going to be sore that you don't use. So do an hour of mobility. So you're talking like 20, if you're doing 3 days a week, you're talking 20 minutes a day. And that's not bad. And that's going to help.
Maybe even spend half of that time, if you're going to dedicate 20 minutes to mobility, to be 10 minutes of warming up before too.
Well, yeah, that's part of your, definitely.
Potential. Well, if people are doing this at home, then maybe not. And if you get straight into your workouts about that warm up, I know when I first started CrossFit, you do a hard workout that next day. There is nothing you want to do anything like that. Once you get through the warm up.
Yeah, you want to warm up. You want to warm up, and your cool down should be some sort of mobility, I would say.
Yeah.
So that would be beginners. 3 hours a week, hour of recovery, mobility, stretching, that type of stuff. After, try not to stretch too much beforehand. And then obviously all these stages, diet is huge. And the higher the stage, beginner, intermediate, advanced, and then elite, your diet just has to ratchet up more and more and cut out more and more as you go. So in the beginning, it's maybe just watching calories.
Or like if you drink a lot of soda, cut out the soda.
Cut out soda, yeah. Absolutely.
That could be enough for a lot of people to drop a big chunk.
Drinking more water, right? So that's beginner. So next stage would be intermediate. This is somebody that's, you're no longer sore all the time. You're feeling pretty good. You actually want to work out probably a little bit. Most of the time you want to work out.
Yeah. Now maybe go up to 5 days a week.
Probably doing 5 days a week. Yeah.
So 3 on, 1 off, 2 on, 1 off.
And we're saying
fits most people's lives.
And that's an hour a training session for the most part we're talking about. And that training session is going to include your warm up, your workout. We're not really including the recovery in those hours, but the actual movement stuff, right? So 5 times a week. Yeah, I would say that's fair.
And then in my opinion, unless you're training for something very specific, you shouldn't really be going much more than that. So right now, I was training 7 days a week with Michelle.
Yeah.
And that was a lot for me.
Right.
And I actually wasn't really feeling beat up, but mentally it was tough to grind through it all the time.
To drain.
And now what I'm trying to do is probably train 6 days a week, but one of those days being like
active recovery.
Yeah, and like going mountain biking with the kids.
And that's what I was going to say too. If you're on that intermediate level, you're going to want to do, if you're doing 5 days a week, you're going to definitely want to do one full rest day, where you don't have to really think about it too much. And then you should do an active recovery day just because you'll feel better. And that's really the big thing.
And whatever's hurting, use that muscle group.
Yeah.
If your legs are just fried,
clean it out.
Go for a walk.
Yep.
Like just flex that lactic acid.
And also with that extra training volume, add another hour into your mobility work. So you're looking at 2 hours of mobility at that level. And that could be something as simple as just sitting, watching TV and holding a stretch for a little bit and changing it up. You could sneak in a lot of mobility in stuff that you do every day. I stretch when I brush my teeth. I stretch my hamstrings.
Interesting choice.
Yeah. Just because I have to stretch my hamstrings so much, right? So.
And foam rolling, I think, is another one of those good ones. Everyone's kind of getting more.
Yeah, everybody's got foam rollers.
Use a roller to just I usually like to straighten the vertebrae in my back with it.
Yep.
That feels really good.
I do it every morning. Lacrosse balls, or a softball, rather. Yeah. I'd get a softball size one. That's a good one, too, to break up knots and stuff like that. But super easy. And you could do it anywhere, anytime. For people that fly a lot, that's a good time to do it. Bring a lacrosse ball and sit on it. It'll change your life, but that's a whole different topic.
You can play with it while you're on the plane?
Yeah. No, you just sit on it, man. It changes. You don't get sore. It's crazy.
Okay. And then what about if we're going to be at the
advanced level? So let's
not even call it advanced. Let's call it competitive local CrossFit.
Yes, exactly. I was going to say,
we're not advanced. We've never been advanced.
Well, no, we're going to say what is advanced. That's what advanced is. You're going to compete, maybe do some CrossFit things, maybe do like yourself.
Do an actual Ironman.
Do an Ironman, doing a what do you call it? Olympic level Ironman.
Yeah, an Olympic
something distance. where you have a goal to train for.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. And it could be anything. It could be I want to hike. I want to climb. I don't know what Mount Washington or I don't know some random mountain.
Machu Picchu.
There you go. I want to do Everest.
That would be pretty intense.
That'd be pretty intense. Yeah. Then you have a specific training plan built to go in that direction. And what are we talking about then, hours wise? We're talking still 5-6 days a week training.
So that's one thing that my coach had me training 7 days a week, and I didn't agree with that.
No.
Now I'm training still for an Ironman, but I'm training, I would say, 6 days a week.
6 days a week, yeah.
And one real rest day, one active rest day.
Yeah.
So maybe 5 days plus a half day.
Sure. That gives you, because as you get more advanced, all the way up to that elite level, it's actually the stuff that you're not doing. Besides training, the stuff you're doing besides training that actually has to intensify much more than your training. Just adding another training session isn't actually the answer. It's actually, now you're talking about, man, you're going to start getting massages.
You need fuel for it.
You're going to watch everything you eat at this point, advanced. You're not going cheating and going to McDonald's because you don't have food. You're going to hold off till you get home, or you're going to pack something with you so that you never have that issue, right? you're going to cut out all the little
stop off for a salad instead.
Yeah, you're going to cut out all the little things that you allow because you're like, oh, I worked out, I deserve this. Now it's nope, this doesn't fit my macros. This doesn't fit my training plan.
And that's where when we get to that next level of elite fitness, like Matt Frazier, everything he did, he would say, will this help me get closer to
everything
CrossFit
every
Games?
day? Right.
Every single thing he did. If the answer is no, it doesn't help him get closer, he doesn't do it.
So advanced people, back to them. You're probably talking about 2 hours a day, 5 days a week training.
Yeah. And
you're talking now, add another hour of recovery. So you're up to like 3 hours of recovery. And now you're starting to do meal planning of some sort. Yeah. You're definitely counting your macros and quality of food's going up. Yeah. You're probably getting some supplements. This is where I would put supplements. Guys, if you're not like training for something, do not waste your money on supplements. Go buy better food instead of buying, I don't know, fucking chuck steak. Go buy some filet. I don't know, or instead of getting hamburgers, buy more steaks. And instead of buying your Incredible, what's that meat? The fake meat?
Oh, Impossible
burgers. Impossible burgers. Don't ever buy Impossible burgers.
They're
idiots.
Delicious.
Fuck that. Get the hell out of here.
And then as far as supplements,
yeah,
the only things that I really think are worthwhile is creatine. Omegas.
Vitamins. Yeah,
and maybe like vitamin D,
some
vitamin
vitamins.
C,
and that's for anybody. I mean, that stuff you should be doing anyway, just because we're lacking it in our diet anyway.
But otherwise, I mean, that vitamins. And protein powder. I don't really feel like there's anything else that's
about it. Yeah,
I used to take a lot more stuff when I was doing the X endurance thing.
Most of
it's that's because they were giving it to me for free.
Yeah,
so I was taking all kinds of shit.
Yeah,
back
exactly.
Then. But now I don't get it for free, and I want to take most of it.
And most of it takes. It's so hard to tell if any of it works. And if you look at studies and all this stuff, most of it doesn't work.
Most of it's placebo effect. Like I really did feel like some of the supplements I was taking with X Endurance was working, but then I stopped taking them and it didn't really change anything. But I felt better having them. But I think it's just because I felt better knowing I was taking them.
I think you're better off spending the extra time and money on quality food.
Yeah.
And maybe you eat high quality food already, but maybe you don't have it in the quantities that you'd actually like. So up the quantities you'd actually like.
Maybe you can actually have more of it.
Yeah, instead of like, oh, I'm going to plan on a protein powder at what they're usually like 30 grams of protein. I'm going to go get some poke instead. I'm going to eat some fresh fish. Yeah, a little bit more money, but way better payoff because then you get your omegas, you get your protein, and you're eating a whole food, So something to think about. And that'd be at that advanced level where you start kind of really dialing in that. All right, so now you're talking about elite, the professional athlete. This is all the people that are like, I want to go in CrossFit. I want to go to the games. I want to go to, or even semifinals. You have to be an elite CrossFitter to do that.
Yeah,
you can't get there by doing a couple hours a day, like we used to do a couple hours a day, every day, and we worked out really hard. But that's not going to get the normal average normal Joe to the elite level of CrossFit anymore at this point.
No.
And then obviously I don't know what the times are, but if you're doing marathons, triathlons, any of those things, whatever that elite time is, you're not going to get there by the 10 hours a week. You've got to go, this is where you're a professional athlete.
Now it becomes a job.
So if you're a professional, it's a job. Exactly. How much time do you spend at a normal job? 40 hours a week. You need to spend 40 hours a week at this job.
30 to 40.
That doesn't mean 40 hours a week training.
Yeah.
Because you can't train 40 hours a week. These guys, they say, oh, we train 7 times a day. They're not training 7 hours a day.
No, they might be doing 15-minute workouts.
They're doing 7 pieces. Yeah, they're going to do some.
And one might be an hour long.
Right? Yeah, one might be like a row for an hour, a run for an hour, whatever it might be. Then they're doing some 10 minutes of handstand walk work, low intensity stuff. They're doing, muscle up work. They're doing whatever, gymnastic stuff. They're doing another maybe 45 minutes of Olympic lifting, right?
Yeah.
And this is for CrossFitters, obviously, we're talking about. But, you're talking about probably 20 plus hours of training, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
Of actual physically training. And then you've got a lot of time in between those that you're going to be taking naps. You're going to be refeeding. You actually have to kind of be on schedule your whole day.
Yeah, yeah. Right. And you're doing your air relax. You're doing your cold plunges. You're doing your massage. You're doing your acupuncture. You're doing your fucking back adjustments.
At this point,
everything.
Rolling out isn't going to do it. little stretching isn't going to do it, and you still have to do that stuff.
Oh yeah, and more.
Yeah. So in your time off between workouts, that's what you're doing. You're stretching while relaxing, right? That's your relaxing.
Yeah.
And then on the side of that, you need that stuff. You need the cold plunge. You need the air relax, the red light, the massage. You've got to start planning all that. So now all your day is going to be planned. And then you've got cooking or meal planning. That's got to be dialed in, whether you're cooking yourself or not. That's just going to add time. But with all the planning, recovery stuff, you're looking at 40 hours a week. And if you're not sure how you can do, like, you're like, nah, that seems ridiculous. You need to step back to the drawing board and figure out how to put in 40 hours a week, because that's how you're going to get there.
And there's a decent amount of elite level CrossFitters specifically that are still working 40-hour work weeks in addition. Yeah. That just means they're putting in 80 hours a week.
Yep.
Like Emily Rolfe was set to crush it this year.
Absolutely.
Till she hurt her arm. Or she didn't even hurt her arm. She got a blood clot.
Blood clot from the most likely vaccinations.
But she's out because of that. But she's working full time as a nurse, and she's at this level. But the way she does that is just by putting in that much time.
Yeah, her day is planned. Bop, 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 bop. Right.
And she has to make that work every single day, or she's not going to be there.
Even yourself, you have a job, so you're getting up at 4:30 in the morning sometimes, right? To go run for a couple hours.
So this morning I swam 1.2 miles before work.
Okay.
So I went to the pool and swam 1.2 miles. 40 minutes.
Okay.
So I got up at 5 so that I could make that in time, so that I could do that before. And then we just did a relatively short bike ride, like an hour or so, bike ride. And then after work today, we're going to go surf for an hour.
Nice.
So we'll set the clock and make sure we actually stay out on the surf for that time.
Yeah.
And that'll be a fair training day for me where none of those pieces are going to bust my nut, but it's still,
and you still have to work.
Me the right parts.
And you still have to work.
And I don't know. I'm supposed to be working right now.
And the only way to do that is either to skip out on work, which luckily you're the boss, so you're not too much of a prick on yourself. But
get away with it somehow.
But if you don't have that luxury, you've got to do it outside of your work time. So you really need to schedule everything, and that's why these professional elite CrossFitters, they talk about how they retire and they're like, because I wanted a life, I wanted to not skip all the stuff I skipped, because you have to skip everything. Even when we were training a lot at a couple of years ago, we're doing 2 to 3 hours every night,
5 nights a week.
Like I remember you guys saying you were skipping out on your kids' birthdays, like you're like, I watched them blow the cake out, and I had said I had to go
to the gym.
So it's like you have to cut those things out when you're.
And that was just so we could do mediocre at local competitions.
Yeah. Speak for yourself, bro. I'm on the podium.
I mean, we were all contending at that point.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah.
Like it wasn't even like that. All that work wasn't putting us like guaranteed winning.
No. We'd be contending, but not guaranteed win.
Yeah.
And that would have taken us take our
realistically another year of it, and we would have been probably.
No, all we had to do is take our nutrition a little more seriously, and get a little more serious about like, hey, I really want to be good at this. Whereas we were just like, hey, let's see what happens if we train 3 hours a day every day and bust each other's ass.
And it was mostly just for the fun of doing it for each other more than it was for a goal at that moment.
Which is a good too. It's just if we had that little tweak of diet, not drinking.
Well, yeah, that's
lot less.
A little bit more focus on recovery. Warm up too. We weren't doing warm up, so we just get straight to work.
All that stuff that would have helped. And like tracking stuff, none of us tracked our calories burned and like I was always in a deficit.
Yeah,
which led to good looking six packs, but it didn't lead to maybe the best recovery that we actually is what we needed was to get recovery,
more attention
to get more. That recovery is so important because that's where you get the payoff of the training. More training doesn't lead to better results. More training leads to the need for more recovery. So if you don't have that more recovery, and that's why we said each of these levels, you're going to add an hour of mobility and all these other things.
Thinking about it just now, I would say one of our biggest flaws to the training that we did is we would start at like 7:30 p.m.
Yeah.
But then by the time we had a couple drinks after, it would usually be like 11 to 12 by the time we get to bed. And
shit, I
was still waking up at 6 a.m. every day for work.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I'm only sleeping 6.5 hours a night every night. So then was that more it was more fun.
Yeah.
Like, was that paying off as well as it should have? No, certainly
absolutely not.
Right.
So yeah, definitely. So that's kind of for those people that are like, I expect I should be at this level by now. I've been doing this long. Well, years in don't matter. It's the days of those years or the weeks of those years. Have you put in those levels that we just talked about? If the answer is no, then that's why you're not at the level you want to be.
Yeah.
And don't hold your a lot of people in the CrossFit gyms are like, hey, I've been doing this for like 6 years and I don't feel like I'm getting much better.
Yeah, I still don't have a muscle up.
Like, hey, I'm stronger, but I still can't do a muscle up. And it's like, that has nothing to do with how many years you have in. It has to do with how
much you worked on it.
How consistent at these levels are. If you're consistently going 4 hours a week, because let's face it, most people are going somewhere around 3 to 4 days a week. And because, you miss a week here, you miss a week here, it's going to average out to something like that.
Yeah.
The people that stick with it for long term. That's why you're not. 4 hours a week is you're intermediate at best. So
which is still good. It's all about your goals.
And your results kind of mirror your the importance that you placed on it.
Yeah.
Because if it was more important to you, you would have been like, I want to do this more. And then you go up to that level. So just kind of reassess your the level you want to be at and how much you're actually putting in to be at that level. So,
all right. So in the end, our advice to you is put it in there.
Put it in. See ya.